What's up, everybody? I'm Tito with AJ's Lawn Care, and welcome to Lawn and Garden Month on Echo Means Business. This month on EMB, we're doing a series of free webinars with leading brands and industry experts. For all the session info, you got to visit echomeansbusiness.com, register, and then you'll be in. If you don't know me, my name is Tino Cardoso, and I'm with AJ's Lawn Care. And I'm a UAG member here in 2022, as well as Jenica and Jared with J&J Property Pros who are joining us today. If y'all want to go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Yes, hello again. I'm Jenica. This is my brother.
I'm Jared. We're J&J Property Pros from New York.
We are so excited today. We're discussing problem-solving plants with Jane Beggs. Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
I'm happy to be here. So, we ready to talk about some plants?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk plants.
All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
We're not going to talk about Jenica's tie.
Yeah. I think it's pretty awesome, right? I mean, we all need one.
We thought it was proper for this session. You know, we need to be ready.
All right. Can everybody see that?
Not yet.
yet.
But we're excited to see it.
It's supposed to be sharing. No?
Not yet. Maybe the plants just don't like us. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't understand what the problem is. Let's see. How about that?
All right.
There we go. Okay. So yes, problem-solving plants. So hi, everybody. My name is Jane Beggs Jones, and I'm going to be talking to you today about some plants from Proven Winners Color Choice. So I actually work for a nursery called Spring Meadow Nursery. So I just want to give you a little background. This is a view of our nursery taken last summer. You can tell it's summer because there's no snow on the ground. We are in Western Michigan, so we do get a fair amount of snow. Since this picture was taken, we've completed this construction and actually started more. We've got about 70 acres of propagation space, and this is what we do. We do liners, and we ship them out to growers in 49 to 50 states, most provinces of Canada. And that's important because if you're a landscaper, I really don't want you buying a plant directly from me. I want you to buy a finished plant from one of my growers. These little plants, no one is going to be happy putting them in the ground for a commercial job or even a residential job. Please talk to my customers, get a full-size plant. Everyone's going to be a lot happier. But I wanted to also show this video because I think it's kind of fun. In addition to propagating plants, we also select them. And this is kind of a cool video because it shows our trial gardens for Hydrangea paniculata breeding. So I like this because it gives you an idea of the range of bloom time that you can have in just one species. Because of the angle, you can't see the different sizes, and it's too early in the season for you to see the different flower colors because Hydrangea paniculata typically changes flower color through the season. But it's still pretty cool. It shows you how much variability we can have in a species. And that's important because when we're talking about problem-solving plants, it's nice to know that you've got a few species that you know what they're going to do. You're confident in them. And once you have those, then your job gets a little bit easier because it's a matter of finding the one that's the best fit for that application. And sometimes that's literal, which plant is going to fit what's going to be the right size and shape. Other times it's finding fit in terms of what is the right color to meet your client's requests or their overall look of the property. So there's a lot that we can do with some species that we know are tough, rugged plants. So what kind of challenges are we facing? These are things that I hear about wherever I go. Deer are a thing everywhere. Everyone swears they have the worst deer problem ever. It's terrible. And we're trying to solve all these problems. And then, oh, by the way, people would like to support wildlife, whether it's bees and butterflies or songbirds. So, but they don't want to support deer. So what do? Well, we're going to do our best to give you some plants that will meet at least some of these challenges. And you can hopefully get some good ideas for what to do. Now, the low maintenance mass planting, this is what everyone wants. They want something that's low maintenance. Now, first off, there's no such thing as no maintenance in a plant. I don't care what anyone tells you. At some point, something's going to happen. It might mean that you have to mow it all the time like a lawn. It might mean that you just have to whack it back once a year, which is true of a lot of flowering shrubs and perennials. Some things it might be that you just have to go in every few years and kind of selectively thin out some branches. At some point, you're going to have to go in there and you're going to have to touch the plant. And that's where Chris's talk that he gave about Corona tools and the right tools for the job, that's so important. Please use the right tools for the job so that your plants stay healthy. Anyway, we're looking for plants that are going to do this and have minimal maintenance and look good. So one of my go-tos for that is Aronia melanocarpa. This is a species that's native to North America. And until recently, Aronia melanocarpa was really geared towards orchard production. Most of the breeding had focused on it as an orchard plant. People who wanted the fruit for jams, jellies, even making wine out of them. However, it's a species that had a lot to offer, and we are just beginning to scratch the surface of what it can be as an ornamental plant. And with that, we've got some really awesome new sizes and shapes of this super durable plant, because Aronia melanocarpa will take cold. It will take some harsh conditions. I've seen the plant be underwater for a week and come right out through it and go on with the rest of the season and do just fine. It will go into zone 9. I will caution you though, as we get into the deep south, they survive. They don't look that great. But other than that, it's a tough plant. You might have to watch it a bit with very alkaline soil, but this is a tough customer. So this is a ground cover form of it, and you get the spring flowers that pollinators love, and then you get this wonderful fall foliage that is just delightful. So there already you've got 2 seasons of interest going for you, and then it does produce fruit. Now, these ornamental selections that you'll see on the market, they will produce enough fruit to keep our songbird friends happy. Game birds like them as well. And if you have a customer who wants, they'll probably get enough fruit, they can put it in their oatmeal or something, and it'll be fine. But if you have a customer who wants something for grow your own, they want to make jam, I'd really rather they go with one of the orchard selections that have a much heavier fruit set. But that said, you do have the fruit that, is quite appealing, all in all. And there are lots of different sizes and shapes coming on the market. I expect we're going to see more. If you are not familiar with Aronia melanocarpa, check it out, because this could be a real workhorse in any landscape. Another workhorse, and this is one that I'm sure everyone's familiar with, is spirea, because spirea was used a lot, and it was used a lot because it's tough. It is a rugged plant that will take a fair amount of abuse. Deer don't care for it. The only problem with spirea, other than the fact that it was used a lot and plant snobs don't want to admit to using it, in some areas, Spirea japonica has proven to be invasive. And this is important for everyone to pay attention to these discussions that are going on, not just with Spirea, but with some other species as well. If you're in the profession, we have genera, we have species that are really valuable to us. We need them. But we don't want to create a problem. We are the original green industry. We don't want to be planting something that's going to be a problem. So we want to be responsible. We want to choose some sterile selections. And those are coming on the market for Spirea and for some other plants that I'll touch on that people are looking at banning. Now, I'm going to tell you to get engaged as a professional, because if you're engaged and you're part of the discussion as restrictions are being contemplated, and these may be at the state level, they may be at a more local jurisdiction. If you are at the table and you're part of that discussion, you can try and steer it towards giving us the option of having some sterile plants, as opposed to entire species, and in some cases, entire genera being banned. It's a lot easier to affect the discussion before the law is written than after. Okay, so now that I've got everyone worried about, the spireas being banned, here's one. It is sterile. Now, the benefit of that sterility is the plant is going to rebloom. The plant flowers, no seed is set. It says, oh, I better try that again, and it flowers again. So, spirea, what a tough plant. You're going to have them leaf out in the spring. These don't need a lot of work. You maybe go in there and you shape them a little bit, and then they're off. They're rocking and rolling, flowering throughout the season, and you don't have to do much to these. You don't really have to do anything. So spirea is definitely one of my go-to plants for a low maintenance mass planting. And whatever your client wants, just find out what colors they want. There's probably a spirea that will work for them. I put this in because it happens to be one of my personal favorites, just because I like the kind of cooler tones. And the foliage has some interesting coloration in it. This is a Spirea media, not a Spirea japonica. But you can find a spirea that is going to be the right color and the right size for your job. Okay, shade. Shade is a challenge. We all like trees. If you don't like trees, you're in the wrong business, right? Trees do so much for us, but trying to landscape under them can be a bit of a challenge. So there are plants that will thrive in shade, but you just need to be aware that even the plants that do well in shade, you're not going to have as many flowers, and you're probably not going to get the foliage color that you may see in pictures. You'll see pictures of plants, and they have very vibrant foliage, whether it's in season or fall color, and it says the plant will grow in shade. And that's true, it will grow in shade, but you won't get that vibrant foliage color. That's just how it is. Same with the flowering. It's just not going to flower as much. That's how it is. There's nothing wrong with the plant. The plant is happy and healthy, but just so you are aware of that. One of my go-tos for shade, for sun, really for pretty much anywhere in zone would be Deervilla, because it's tough. Deervilla is one of the few plants that will tolerate dry shade. This is an outstanding plant for filling in spaces. It does have a little bit of a suckering habit, not in an obnoxious way, but it's kind of casual, right? It's going to fill in. You don't have to do much of anything to this thing. You might go in there and tidy it up just a little bit, but for the most part, you plant it, it gets established, and off it goes. You have the yellow flowers in the summer that pollinators love, and then some of the selections will now have the vibrant fall color. Here's another shot of that fall color. Remember, you're not going to get that fall color when it's in deep shade. The only thing I would say about Deervilla is if you have a client who wants a very formal manicured landscape, they want everything pruned to within an inch of its life, this is not the plant for them, okay? This is a plant for somebody who's a little bit more relaxed. That said, what a workhorse. If you have an awkward space somewhere, you don't know what to do, you can't get stuff to grow, check out a Deervilla. They are really workhorses. Another workhorse, Itea virginica. It will take wetter conditions. In fact, it kind of likes wetter conditions. But other than that, very similar story. It's going to sucker a little bit, not in an obnoxious way, but not a plant for somebody who wants everything pruned into a little meatball type shape. You're going to get some lovely flowers in the summer that are fragrant, the pollinators love. You get that nice fall color. But remember, that fall color, that happens the more sun you get. So Itea virginica is just such a workhorse of a plant, and I'm a big fan. Clethra, one you're probably familiar with, but I'm going to mention again just because it's a really good plant for shade. And kind of like the idea, you know, these are all native species. I know we have people asking for native plants. Here we have some selections of our native species, and they have fragrant flowers and pollinators love them. Clethra is a great choice for a woodland garden. It will take on some yellow color in the fall. Personally, I don't think of it as being that spectacular, but it does color up a bit. So Clethra is a good go-to. It does like wet soil. So just a nice choice for filling in woodland garden. Okay. Then we get to really horrible places where people do stupid things. I'm not going to make any promises about what a plant will do if it's run over by a truck, but we can try and have some plants that will tolerate the general abuse that people put out, right? Air pollution is something that we don't always think about, but there are plants that don't really like that. So we want to choose plants that will tolerate these tough conditions and, shall we say, thoughtless behavior on the part of human beings. One of my go-tos, Potentilla. I know there's probably people like rolling their eyes on this, like Potentilla, that's like old school. If you were doing this back in the 80s and 90s, like it seemed like there was a law that every gas station north of the Mason-Dixon line had to have a Potentilla in it. The new varieties are much nicer. They have nice full habits. They're going to flower all season. Really, Potentilla does everything we could want a plant to do. It is going to flower all summer. Deer don't like it. Pollinators do. It's a native plant, and it needs like hardly anything. You just maybe shape it a little bit in the spring. It does its thing all summer long and trouble-free. Once they're established, these plants will take some very stressful conditions. They have good drought tolerance once they're established. Just Potentilla is just a really, really useful plant for adding easy color to a landscape. Now, there are different colors of Potentilla out there. Unless you are in a very cold zone. If you're tuning in from zone 2, zone 3, something like that, maybe zone 4, the pinks will do great for you. When we get into the southern part of Potentilla's range, the pinks, they'll do okay, but you're often going to see them fade. Where I am in Western Michigan, the pinks hold on fairly well, even though we are technically a zone 6. Because we have a fair amount of cloud cover, we don't have the intense sunshine that you will have in some other areas. But if you are in the southern part of its range, or you do have very intense sunlight, like if you're at altitude, the yellows and the whites are probably going to be better choices for you. Personally, I really like the yellow, and I'm not crazy about yellow for the most part, but I think yellow Potentilla is just outstanding. Okay. Another one of my go-tos for dry conditions, this is Hypericum. And like the Potentilla, you can put this in, get it established, and it will rock and roll through the summer, putting out lots and lots of yellow flowers. Bees love it. Just an outstanding plant. Now, this variety was one that won a Blue Ribbon Award from the University of California with their irrigation trials. I want to bring this to everybody's attention. If you're not familiar with this irrigation trial, please go check it out. It's a really, really good study of plants that survive under extremely low irrigation. And if you are anywhere where there's water stress, where there's the potential for drought, go check this website out. Basically, if you are west of the Mississippi, you ought to look at this and see what they are recommending. They have flowering shrubs. I believe they have perennials, and they put these plants through a very, very rigorous test. It was only at the University of California, I think in Davis, and then they had another location in Southern California where they did these evaluations. For 2022, they've expanded their sites. They will be trialing plants up in Idaho and in Salt Lake City, I believe in Arizona. So the plants that are going to be featured on this website are ones that I think are going to be really good for low water use areas. And talk about problem solving plants. If that's on this website, I think you want to check it out. Okay. Another durable old standby, Thuja occidentalis. I know deer like it. I'm sorry, they do. That said, it's tough. It's super hardy, and it's a plant that whatever size, whatever shape, and a lot of different colors, you can find something that's going to work for that job, right? And you know what these guys do. Very hardy. They'll take some wet conditions, and this is one of my favorites. If you look for the dwarf varieties, they do great in a container. If you have a very dwarf arborvitae, you can overwinter it above ground in most of North America, and it'll be fine. Dwarf arborvitae is a really, really good choice for someone who has a patio garden or a rooftop garden, and they want some year-round color. Check out Thuja occidentalis. Plus, if it's up on a roof, you don't really have to worry about the deer browsing it, I hope. Hibiscus syriacus, another one of my tough customers that I know, this is like, you're like, my grandma had one. Hibiscus syriacus, Rosa Sharon, Althea, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to tell you to look at it again because Hibiscus syriacus is tough. It'll take sun, it'll take heat, it'll take crummy soil. It likes crummy soil. It'll grow in clay. It will take a lot of abuse. If there was ever a parking lot plant, it's Hibiscus syriacus, right? Butterflies, hummingbirds love Hibiscus syriacus. Here at our nursery, we've actually seen the hummingbirds fighting over the flowers. And, you have these beautiful little birds. They look like little jewels, and they are very aggressive when it comes to these flowers. It's kind of surreal to see, but there you are. Anyway, Hibiscus syriacus, there's been a lot of breeding to give us different shapes and sizes. So we have a columnar form here. You can imagine how useful that would be for parking lots, all these different sizes and shapes. The color of Hibiscus syriacus, by and large, it's just going to be green foliage. There's some variegated ones, but most of them are green. I am not aware of like any purple foliage or anything like that, but you do have a lot of different flower colors. So you can find a color that works for your customer, whatever color it was that they were looking at. These are a little bit smaller, upright, but not quite that total column. And then there's some that are little balls. How awesome would that be for a parking lot? So these are just great plants. Please take another look at Hibiscus syriacus, don't be a snob. Okay. Even the plant snobs here at Plant Snob headquarters, we like Hibiscus syriacus. Another one of my tough guys is barberry, right? Personally, I don't like barberry because they're prickly, but they are tough and they are useful. And talk about a plant that comes in any size, any shape, any color. You can find a barberry that is right for your job. That said, here's another look at various different sizes and shapes of barberry. And you know the abuse of barberry will take, right? And this is one, if you have someone who really wants to prune barberry, tell them to go for it. I personally wouldn't, and most of the newer varieties have a nice shape so you don't have to prune them. But if you have someone who really likes to prune stuff, it's not going to hurt this plant. What you do need to be aware of is this is another plant that is actually, it's been banned in some places, and it's going to be banned in others. And that's because older varieties could be very weedy and seedy, and they could be a problem. I'm an avid hiker. I don't like it when I go for a hike, I'm in the woods, and I see a barberry seedling growing where barberry should not be growing. Newer varieties are not as seedy as those old ones. They're not problematic. And there are also cultivars that are sterile. This is one, get in on that conversation. If there are people in your municipality that are trying to ban it, and there's a good chance there are, please be part of that conversation so you can steer them towards allowing sterile varieties in. It's a lot easier to affect that conversation before they ban it than to go in after the ban has already been put in place and make your case that this is a really valuable plant for you and for the landscape industry. And then finally, I'm going to end with hydrangea. Not because I think hydrangeas are really a problem-solving plant for these tough, challenging areas that I've been talking about. It's because your customers probably ask for them. And I say that because that's the number one plant we have questions about from consumers. All the people who live in Nebraska and want to know why they can't have hydrangeas like Martha Stewart does on Nantucket. So you're going to have customers who ask you for hydrangeas. So quick and easy, if you are not on Nantucket, if you're in a place that hydrangea macrophylla or big leaf hydrangeas struggle, I'm going to give you two options. One is Hydrangea arborescens. This is a native species, Hydrangea arborescens. It is very cold hardy. It flowers on new wood. So if they're cut to the ground, if they're killed to the ground, if that Nissan truck rolls over them and, flattens them over winter, you just have to cut these guys back right around this time of the year, and they will come back and they will flower that year. So Hydrangea arborescens is my first go-to for tough, challenging sites where people want hydrangeas. Hydrangea arborescens you can get in lots of different sizes, lots of different colors. You will not get blue. Blue is not happening. That customer who lives in a zone 3 and they want a blue hydrangea, for them it's going to have to be either an annual Hydrangea macrophylla or spray paint, because blue hydrangeas are not happening in zone 3. My other hydrangea solution for people in either zones or you're looking at a site that hydrangeas are not happy at is going to be Hydrangea paniculata. Similar story, very cold hardy, flowers on new wood. Both of these, the soil is not going to affect the flower color. These are the toughest two species of hydrangeas out there. And as with the Hydrangea arborescens, you're going to have lots of different sizes and shapes, more or less, and different colors. You're not going to have blue. Hydrangea paniculata, it's not happening in blue, and I'm sorry, but that's how it is. But these are rugged plants that will take abuse if you have a customer who wants hydrangeas and you know that Nico Blue is not going to make it. So thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity, and this is such a great thing. And thank you for everybody who is learning, because that's what is driving us forward as an industry. I think it's great. Thank you for including me in this.
Jane, honestly, we thank you so much. This was so informative and
Truly.
so timely, because we actually have had a lot of clients that they want the native, they want the pollinators, they want to encourage that kind of habitat. So a lot of the plants you were mentioning, I was definitely taking notes over here because are just in time for what we need. So
awesome. I'm awesome. That's great. I'm glad.
Thank you for sharing all of that. We can't wait to go back and take more notes.
Yeah, we kept talking while it was going. We're like, that's a great one. That's another one. That's we will admit.
Welcome to my world where I walk around the nursery and say, I want that. I want that.
There is a shared hatred, though, for barberry. Because do they make a variety without the pricklies?
Actually, I think there was one.
Really?
But it was not a very good one. Like it.
Got it.
But the story I always tell, because like barberry, I don't like it, but I've talked with landscapers who are in really tough situations. I think of a lady I spoke with out in western Nebraska, and we're like going through a list of plants. Like, what could she get to live at a gas station in western Nebraska?
Right.
And finally, I was like, you're going to have to use the barberry.
Barberry, you can't even kill them, even if you want to.
You can't. You can't. So there's a place for everything.
Tino, right?
Tino, what do you think?
They're horrible. We rip them out, and they just come right back. It's horrible.
See, you don't actually have to worry about a client. Like if they feel, aggressive and they want to take it out on something, take it out on the barberry because it'll come back.
Exactly.
Well, also, I loved how you talked about the hydrangeas as well, because we had a few clients that there was the endless summer variety. And for a while they were having difficulties where they said it bloomed beautifully. And then we cut it and then the blooms never came back. It leafed out beautifully, but we never got flowers. And I know there was another variety of endless
different
summer.
Genetic.
There's a number of them. I guess first off, like hydrangeas alone is an hour long. Like
Exactly.
No, in all seriousness, I have done talks that are nothing but hydrangeas for a solid hour.
Right.
It's that complicated. But
yes.
I would say that with the hydrangea macrophylla, like the endless summers, you know, the reblooming hydrangeas, we're like at reblooming hydrangea. It's like the iPhone 6. Like we're at the third or fourth generation of reblooming hydrangeas. So the newer generation is way better than the older ones. But you know, there's still going to be hydrangea macrophylla. And deer like all hydrangeas. I'm sorry. That's just
yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, they
do.
do.
Unfortunately. I mean, I know, Tina, we're in all different zones. I know the deer are crazy up here. How are they down by you?
Oh, yeah. They're just horrible. When we get deer, then we have armadillos, and we have hogs, and we have everything just wants to eat everything. So we do a lot of Mexican heather, a lot of lantana, esperanza, and they eat the cactus around here. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, I mean, you got to cage pretty much everything.
I was going to say either cage or yes.
It's amazing. No matter what zone you're in, there's something that's going to try to eat something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely am team Spirea.
Oh yeah.
Definitely look into that, and hopefully we can get some.
Spirea is fantastic.
Here.
It's fantastic.
Spirea is good. It's old school, but there's a reason why people planted it.
Right. Yeah. And again, Jane, thank you because you brought up some wonderful points, and we're so excited again to do our homework again and really look back into some of these plants.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has been good.
Jane.
And, spring's here.
Woohoo! Well, we're excited.
Tina's like, yeah, I'm already into summer. I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Central Texas. It's always spring over here. So.
Tina's way ahead of
us. Seriously, this weekend they're threatening us with snow. So I'm like,
yes.
Wow.
Yep. We're not out till almost May as well. It's like you're just holding on for dear life.
Well, again, Jane, everybody, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
And,
thank you.
We look forward to putting some of these plants into practice and looking into
Super
it.
Cool. Let me know how they do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye,
everybody.
See y'all later.
Thank you, everybody. We hope you join us also next week for Thursday session. It's going to be retaining talent with Dynascapes and landscape lighting with Hunter Industries. Please give Echo Means Business a follow on Instagram and Facebook. And again, you can sign up for those sessions at echomeansbusiness.com. Thanks again for joining us, and hope to see everybody here next week.